In the last class, you wrote a string parser that converts CSV data to int.json format. Now, it's time to build a progress reporter and check it out. Our final test is working as expected. Let's check this out in practice then. All right, all set. So first of all, we're gonna stop the last project, okay? I'm gonna remove the node modules folder and I'm gonna copy and paste it, okay? I'm gonna call it 2 because it's the second part of our project, okay? So let's go to the 07 part 2. And then let's restore our packages using npm CI. Nice. Let's run our tests. Let's make sure everything's working as expected. And it's working, right? And we just reached 100% code coverage for what we have right now. All set. So now the goal is to create a progress reporter so we can make a huge project and process a lot of data and see how many percent it's gonna be processed during the time. All right. Well, I'm gonna write on our src file an YouTube file. Okay. This YouTube file, we're gonna copy something that we have used on our, I think it's actually on the client here, right? We're gonna copy the log function here, okay? Because we're gonna do something similar to show up our progress bar. Nice. So I'm gonna export it, this log function. Nice. As we've done, let's keep our tests running. And let's implement a test for this function, okay? So we can keep up with our tasks. So u2.test.js. Okay, I'm gonna copy something from here. Okay, and some describe and it from there. So just close it and close it. I'm gonna put it as a to-do and close it here. All right, save it. We have something that's not passing. When we are using to-dos, we just don't have anything there, okay? One to-do. This one will be our log suite test, okay? Nice, so let's import our log. Just remember to put .js there. Well, when you're using this function, we can see that readline and some operating system functions are being called here, right? When you are using Jest, we could actually mock them. So I'm gonna import the readline from node readline, okay, to make sure our task doesn't depend on the operating system implementation and so on. So whenever I call the readline cursor to, I'm gonna use just fn and an empty function, okay? Because we are just calling it here. I'm gonna do the same thing to stdout right. Nice. And then I'm gonna import one thing here. It's after all. After all, I'm gonna actually clean this object so we won't have a problem of this mock implementation making our test suites dirty, okay? After running this test, it's gonna be cleaned and we're gonna go back to the Node.js implementation, not the Jest one changing it. Okay, let's try the right input. And we're gonna just make a simple test here. So first of all, I'm gonna have a message, maybe test, and I'm gonna use the log function with this message. Okay, and I expect now our readline cursor to be called with our process stdout, okay, and 0 as we see here, okay, exactly the same. And I expect also our write function to be called without any parameters, so to be called with only a message. So I'm gonna save it, and everything is still working out, okay? Some people don't like making tests like this one, because if they change the implementation of the test, they're gonna change everything. But I actually recommend you a lot, whenever you have anything that depends on the operating system you're working, you always mock the implementation, so you won't be, if you run this test on Windows, it's gonna work, and so on, okay? Nice, nice, nice. I just wrote this first test, and now let's create our reporter, right? The reporter is gonna use this test. So it's gonna be here, reporter.js, okay? And let's use the same idea, okay? The same idea. So I'm gonna actually export a class called reporter, okay? I'm gonna use dependency injection pattern here. So I'm gonna import our log from our YouTube, so we can test it. We can test this class without depending of a log. This is a very good practice, okay? So I'm gonna use here logger fn. It's gonna receive our logger, and otherwise we can have an empty function here, okay? Nice. Well, I'm gonna call a progress function just to receive the amount we've already processed, or the data we have been processing. And I'm gonna return just the amount here, okay? Actually, I'm gonna return a pass-through, okay? I'll tell you why in a bit. Pass, actually, from node string pass-through, okay? And I'm gonna create this one, just an empty, okay? Which will be our pass-through function, and I'll return the progress, okay? See, when we are working with TDD, we just create the whole structure, and then we start making assumptions, okay? Assertions on our code. All right, so let's create more one file here. This is gonna be the reporter test.js. Nice. Well, we could do exactly the same thing here. I'm gonna copy paste. This one I'm gonna call reporter test suite. Okay, I'm gonna remove those ones. I'm gonna remove this one, and I actually can remove everything here, put it as a to-do. I won't use redline here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use log, but I'm sure that I'm gonna use reporter. So remember JS. So what is this? It should print progress status correctly, okay? So what is the goal of this function or this class? Whenever we are processing maybe 2 petabytes of data, I want to know how long or how the progress is being. Oh, we already processed 10% or 20% and so on, okay? So first of all, we're gonna write some tests for this, and then we can put them together on a pipeline and see them working together. My friend, this is gonna be crazy nice. All right, so let's go. So first of all, I'm gonna use a logger mock, because we don't need to actually change, or we don't need to actually use our logger right there. We can inject a function that and call it and log it how many times it's gonna be called. So let's instantiate our reporter, and it receives a logger, which will be our logger mock. Okay, this is nice, right? When we inject functions, or when we inject dependencies, it's really easier to parse individually, or actually not depend of the implementation of those dependencies. Okay, so first of all, I'm gonna call progress, and I'm gonna say reporter progress, okay? And I will progress maybe multiple of 10, okay? So 10%, 20%, 30 until 100, okay? So we're gonna have the multiple here. So what I expect, So let I equal 0, okay? And I multiple, actually from 1 to the multiple in I plus plus. And then I'm gonna use the writable channel, and I'm gonna write some data there, okay? And then I will emit the end. And then what I expect after it, I'm gonna use the logger mock. I will grab the calls. I will grab only the length, okay? Because I want to know that it has been called to equal actually 10 times, okay? Nice. So this logger function should be called 10 times. So 10%, 20%, 30, and so on, okay? Nice. What else? Just for you, if you are a bit lost here, I'm just instantiate how many times or what is my multiple, what is how many progresses I will have right there. Okay, the amount of times, or the imagine this as a file, right? I have the multiple here would be 1,000 to represent 1,000 megabytes. Okay, so when I'm sending some kilobytes right there, I could count how many times our log function were called there, and we can make sure this will be called right. Okay, so I will actually do something even further. I will go on our index of those calls, and I'll do something to compare whether this message was called correctly. Okay, I'm thinking of a good message here, maybe like processed 100%, or maybe 20.3%. Let's do something like this. Okay, so let's get these calls. Okay, so from the logger mock.calls in this index, I'm gonna grab the first argument. Okay, it's gonna be called, and what I expect this data expected. Okay, I expected here to be like 10, 20, 30, and 40. Okay, so how I'm gonna do this calculation? First of all, I'm gonna parse this index, which is returning like a string here. I don't know why, but I'm gonna parse it to a number, so I make sure it's all right. Okay, the index starts always from 0, so I'm gonna jump to the second one. Okay, and then I'm gonna multiply. Oops. And then I'm gonna multiply by our multiple. Okay, so the first index, it's gonna be 1 multiplied by 10, it's gonna be 10, the 2, 20, and so on. Okay, then I will usually call my expect to strict equal, and then I expect this to be called with this message that we are gonna create there. Okay, with our expected. And well, imagine that we have like 40.5, or I think this could be useful for big objects, so I'm gonna call with 00 this time. Okay, just 2 decimal points here. Nice, our test is already ready, so let's start implementing it. So our test is failing, and now we should work on our implementation. Okay, perfect. All right, remember that I said you that a pass-through doesn't interfere or shouldn't interfere on a pipeline. So we're gonna wait for events here, okay? So from on data and on end, okay? So for on data, I'm gonna create a private one here. I'm gonna receive the amount, all right? The total number of data that we should calculate here. And then I'm gonna return a function. It's gonna have the chunk. All right, with the signature, I could say on data, and I send the amount. So whenever I have the data, this function is gonna be called, and we have this amount of data that we can process. This is also called as a closure in JavaScript, okay? Nice. Well, whenever we have been reading all the data, I'm gonna call the logger function with that message that we are expecting here, okay? So just gonna copy, paste it here, okay? And I think when the whole project is over, we should say, oh, this is actually 100%, okay? So here, I'm gonna create 100%. Just 100, just with all the clean code, okay? Because imagine we are processing maybe 20, and sometimes we can jump to 93%, and then we don't have chunks anymore. So we should just send, oh, I actually reached the end. The final thing here just sent 100% because I already read the whole thing. All right? Nice. If I save it, we should see now we have one call right here because we have the emit. All right. So now the golden thing is implementing our data on data function. Okay. So I'm going to say total chunks is 0, and then we can interact with it. Okay. So our total chunks is going to receive our chunk dot length. Remember that this is going to be a string or a buffer. Okay. And our processed, it's going to be 800%, okay, divide by the amount by the total chunks. And then we call our logger function with that message, processed. And then I will say processed to fix it to, just to keep two points here, okay? And then percent. Oops, and percent. Well, this should make work. Let's save it and let's see what happened here. Ooh, our test is working on. If we pass here, just a matter of curiosity, if we say the logger is the console.log, actually the console.log here, oops, we're gonna face, wait. Here I'm gonna put console.log, and let's see if we have some logs. See, 10%, 20, 30, 40, and 50% until we have 100, okay? Nice. Let's keep the logger there. So our progress bar is working fine, and now we should integrate with our project, okay? Nice. Well, let's create here on our test an integration test so we can check if our function is working as we expect, okay? So now it's like the final test, and then we can make it work with our project. Same thing, I'm gonna copy from util and paste this to the integration test. Okay, I'm gonna remove everything that I don't want there. Okay, that's you do. So this one, it's gonna be an integration test. Okay, it's like a E2E test. So this is gonna be CSV to ND-JSON. Okay, nice. This time I won't mock anything. This time we're gonna see this working. Actually, we're gonna check if it's working as we expected. So all of the tests we wrote before were unit tests, and now we have an integration test. This is good to practice as well. So first thing, given a CSV string, it should parse each line to a valid ND-JSON string. Okay. Nice. So now I'm gonna work. I can actually move this a bit. Okay, I think it's gonna be easier to read. Okay, what we should do now? Well, let's first of all get our CSV to JSON. Remember to put .js there. And then I'm going to say CSV to JSON equal new CSV to JSON. Delimiter, it's going to be the same. And headers, and what's the headers? It's going to be an array, okay? What did I wrong? Oh, it's missing a comma here. And here. Okay, so same thing. Let's create a CSV string, and then it's gonna be name, ID, description. Oh, but just desk 01 tests, anything there. Okay, my description, just to make it easier. O2, it's gonna be Eric. Maybe, I don't know, desk 2. And I'm gonna do for a third one, it's gonna be 3, Anna, and Lauren, maybe Lauren Ibsen. All right, but now we know what the header are. So here we put there. Okay. We can remove to do from here. Nice. Well, we're gonna import, because we want to work with streams, okay? From promises, I'm gonna grab pipeline because we want to consume the whole stream, okay? All right, so I'm gonna put the pipeline here, and I will actually import a readable from Node.js stream, okay? So readable.from CSV string, CSV string. Okay, now it's gonna be different, right? Right now we are actually working with strings. So we're gonna do similarly when we are processing a big file after those tests, okay? Well, after reading the file, we should actually pipe it to our CSV to JSON function here, right? Nice. After it, what should we do? Well, we should actually get our reporter, right? So I'm gonna import our reporter. We should create an instance for it as well. Reporter, new reporter. And this time I wouldn't say, and I wouldn't change the logger function. I'm gonna keep the default one, which is gonna be from our YouTube function, okay? Reporter. And I'm gonna use progress, okay? And then this is gonna be the CSV data, the CSV string dot length, okay? So we know how much we're gonna process from it. Nice. We are just gathering all those concepts. And now let's import a writable so we can try making our assertions. So writable, write, chunk, encoding, callback. Okay, we're gonna just call the callback with the data. However, I want to check how many times this chunk was called. Okay, so I'm gonna create here our spy. It's gonna be just fn. So I'm gonna try calling this spy there with the chunk, so we can monitor it and check if the data is being called as we want, okay? Nice, 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 nice. All right, see, the integration test is a bit harder, right? We actually gathered all the components and we see if they are working fine together. Okay, so I expect this spy function to be called at least the number of items we have here minus the header, okay? So I will say const times will be the CSV data, the CSV string, dot split by the break line, and the length. So this way we get all the lines, okay? But I'm gonna remove the first line, so -1, minus the header, okay? Okay, so now I expect our spy function to have been called times our times. Okay? Nice. What else? Well, now, as we have 3 different items, we should inspect them, okay? So, let's grab them all. First call, same thing we did in the last one, okay? Here, second, and the last one, it's gonna be third, okay? From our spy mock calls. Nice. What else? Well, we could actually do an expect, try parsing our first call here. And I expect this to strict equal an object, right? So it's gonna be ID name in description, ID name in this desk, right? For description. The first one is 0 test and my description. I'm gonna copy paste, just save time. ID name and description. Nice. Well, I'm gonna do to the same thing to the other calls. So the second and the third. Okay, the second has 2 Eric in desk 1. So here it's 2 Eric in desk 01. Oops, this one is the second, right? So I'm gonna move from second here, put here, and then I will call the third. And for the third, it's gonna be Anna and Lauren. Okay, 3 Anna and Lauren. Well, I think that's all. So we are actually running the whole pipeline here, and we are actually seeing if our output has been called 3 times. Okay, actually 2 times because it's just the data. No, 3 times. It should be 4 if it includes the header, but it's just 3 times. And then we are actually going through each data. If I save this file, ooh, something wrong happened. Oh, here, it's my wrong thing here. Nice. It seems everything's working fine. Okay. However, there is a small bug, but we're gonna find it when we write our function. So let's make our final file here. It's index. Now we can stop our project for now, and let's try implementing how we could use this function, okay? So first of all, we should create a huge CSV file. I think we've done in the first classes, so I'm gonna copy from the third one, okay? Nice. Well, what I'm going to do now, let's create this big file first. So I'm gonna print out the name, the headers actually, name, description, and age to a big.csv file, okay? After it, I'm gonna do something similar that we've done here. So I'm gonna run this sequence from 1 to 5, and then let's keep this way because it's gonna be a bit bigger. So we're gonna have first our I, right, which is the index we are gonna receive here. I'm gonna put, no, let's I, because otherwise it's gonna be big, this line. So I, then we're gonna have some name, right? So Eric I, and then I, and some text, okay? And then the age would be I, okay? Just it for now. However, I'm gonna put a break line here, and I'm gonna repeat this line one with 5 zeros, which will be 100K items. Okay, let's copy it. I'm actually in the root folder, and I'm gonna paste it. Oh, it's missing something. Let's stop it. So first of all, let's put this echo, and then the 4. It's missing actually after the big file done. Okay, let's check this out. Well, right now we have the big file CSV, which is just some bytes. But if I try seeing how many lines, we could use WC, and there's just one line. Let's see if we did something wrong on our big file CSV. Oh, I think I wrote the name of the file incorrectly. Big CSV and big file. Yeah, big CSV also. Okay, copy and paste it. And now our big file CSV has 50K lines. Okay, nice. If you want to process even bigger, you should just increase this number. Okay, nice. Well, let's create our file. Okay, so first of all, let's import our CSV to ndjson.js. I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna import our log from our util. I'm gonna import the reporter. Okay, I'm gonna instantiate our reporter as a reporter, and I will keep the log there, but I will use this for other purpose. Okay, nice. So our file name, it's our big.csv, right? Nice. First of all, so our report could use it, we should actually know how is the size of this file. Okay, so I'm gonna use const from, actually we should import it first. So import from node.fs, and I'm gonna grab stat_sync. So I'm gonna call it size equals stat_sync. So this stat_sync, we're gonna grab the size of the file here. Okay, so I'm gonna put it as file size. Okay, if I console.log the file size now, and I try running the source index, we could see it's 95. So we could see there, yeah, it's 9 megabytes. I'm gonna remove this big file so we won't see it here and it's not make us confused. Okay, just 9 megabytes, but we're gonna increase it later. Okay, let's start small and then we're gonna increase it. Nice. I'm gonna try doing something even more processing, right? So I'm gonna try changing these IDs here and incrementing this data. So I'm gonna import the transform from node, okay, and I'll call process data transform chunk encoding and callback. Okay, don't forget to call the callback with null. And then, as I already know here, this is gonna return us a JSON, right? So data json.parse chunk. And then I'm gonna create a global counter. Let counter equals 0. So we can increase this data, okay? So I'm gonna call const result equals our JSON.stringify, because we should return it the data. I'm gonna keep the data there, but I'm gonna change the ID. So the counter plus plus. All right. Nice. And then I'm gonna just put a break line at the end. so we can see on the logs better. And then on our callback, we call it just as result. I'm gonna put a return here. Nice. What else? Now we should grab our pipeline from Node.js strings, and we can start gathering all our functions, okay? So await pipeline, and let's start implementing our CSV to JSON. It's gonna be new CSV to JSON. Our delimiter, it's gonna be comma, right? Because our CSV file here has commas. And if I click here, I could see it as a CSV file. So it's a actually valid CSV file. And then what else? I would say the headers. It's gonna be what we have here on our file. There we have on the headers those ones. So I'm gonna, let's actually go to our index. We are almost there. All right, what else? Well, this one we could actually copy paste from our test, right? So I'm gonna copy those lines. Actually, no, actually we don't need it because our readable is actually a readable, right? It's actually going from our files. So I'm gonna grab from FS, create read string, okay? And I actually get the right string because I want to send this final object to a separate file, okay? Nice. So I'm gonna read the file, which we have the file name right there. What else? I'm gonna parse this data to the function we have here, to the object we have here. We're gonna call the process data, which will parse this string and actually increment data. And then we should call our reporter, okay? And our reporter needs to know the file size so we can report the data. After all, I'm gonna write to big and the JSON file that's gonna be created on the same age. I'm gonna remove this one so we know that it's on the root of the project, okay? Nice. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna run this code. And let's see. Ooh, method not implemented. Transform method wasn't implemented. So it's missing an S here. Transform. Okay. Let's try doing it again. Ooh, our process. Oh my God. What happened to our process file? Oh my God. This doesn't seem good, right? Let's understand why. Well, let's go to the reporter. Actually, to the reporter class. Let's write why this problem, okay? Our report is not going well there. Remember our file here. We have some spaces here, right? And our ND.json, if we try looking at the final object, we can see it's actually going well, right? We process all the items. We have actually the 50K items minus 1, which we have here, right? Because we just removed the header. So it's actually parsing the data as we wanted to. Our test is okay, but we saw some problems on the reporter. Let's understand why. Okay, when we are trying to parse this data, we got the total chunks, right? We got the amount. So this amount represents how big is the file as a CSV file, right? However, when we are parsing to JSON and incrementing values, we should consider that this changed a bit, right? So let's grab a line from here, okay, and we could compare. So I will compare with a buffer from, okay, and I'll put there, okay? And I would say that I want to know the byte length. So I'm gonna copy and I'm gonna open Node here and paste it. So I have 18, right? Let's do the same thing for the line after being parsed. So here I'm gonna grab the first idea here and I'm gonna parse it and put it here. So if I paste it, I have seen here 51. So the chunk size is gonna be different, right? If you look at the size of actually the files, they are very different. The CSV file is 9 megabytes and the JSON is 27. So we should put some margin there to know that our chunks, it's gonna be different. The size of the file is gonna be different, okay? However, if we try just seeing the difference between those two, we could have 51 minus 18. So it's gonna be 33, okay? So I'm gonna put it a bit more because our CSV file could be longer, okay? So I'm gonna create here line length after turned into JSON, okay? Instead 33, it's gonna be 40 bytes, okay? So I'm gonna put a big more because if you reach the end of the file, I'm gonna send the item there. Okay, so we want to add this on our calculation. So minus this line length after JSON. I'm gonna put it in parentheses so we can remember what this means, okay? And then we should make our test keep working, all right? So if I run the test there, our test is actually broken, right? We could see this doesn't work. Why? Because we have this file there. So we should change this value for our tests. So let's go to the reporter. And the reporter dot line will be equal 0 because we know that our total won't change, okay? So if I save it and run our test, it's now working. And now if we try running our test, we could see that it reached as we expected. Woo, very nice, my friend. Well, let's think so we can finish this project. Actually, let's see the final output, if it's likely what we want. Nice, it's almost there. Actually, the file is all right, but I want to do just one last thing here. So I want to calculate how long this process took. So I will grab here, started at, date not now, okay? And for ended, actually I can remove it. Well, if my await here was all right, I can try actually saying my value. So ended will be math.round, okay? Date.now, which is the current time, minus the time it started, okay? Well, this will gonna bring us the value into a millisecond. So I will call here a millisecond. It's gonna be 1,000, okay? So we can use it to divide it. So I'm gonna put it in parentheses. And then I'm gonna fix it into just 2 characters, okay? Nice. So our final time, it's gonna be, if the time that was processed is it's higher than a minute, so let's create a minute also. A minute is actually 60 seconds, okay? A minute. Here I'll put time in seconds, okay? So you can understand what is it. So if the seconds is larger than or is bigger than 60%, it's 60 seconds, I will actually say that our time in seconds divided into minutes, and I'll put a letter here to say that minutes, okay? Otherwise, it's gonna be the time in seconds, and I'll put just S here, okay? Nice. What else? Now we can call our log and say it took final time process finished with success. Ooh. So let's try running it and let's see if our project is working fine. Nice, my friend. It took actually 6 seconds to process some big of files, but I want to go further. I want to process now 50 million items. Okay, so this one, it's gonna be 50 million items. So here it's 100K items, but now I want more. I want 50 million. Okay, so I'm gonna paste it. It's gonna take a while. Okay, and then I'm gonna check the whole file. It's almost a gigabyte. Okay, but we have a lot of items there, right? So if I try seeing big.csv, the line counter, we have 50 million items. 50 million items there. Nice. Well, what if we try running it? Will it work? Almost a gigabyte of file. Let's check it out. All right, it's working fine. If we see the size of the project now, it's 3 gigabytes. You can go further here by adding how many items, because you have the whole counter here, right? So you can say processed items and put the counter. Let's try just doing this last thing. I'll try now with less items. So I'm gonna move again and paste it and try running again. But now we should see how many items it has been processed, how many lines we've been processed. So 100K lines. Well, you got to know what a readable, writable, transform, pass-through, and duplex streams works in practice. You're ready to process files between systems, test complex workflows, and understand the Node.js stream's lifecycle. Now it's time to build something. I would like to invite you to build a personal project by applying what I taught to you in this chapter. I would suggest you try moving data from one database to another, like moving data from a SQL database to a NoSQL database, or trying editing videos and audio and outputting them into a folder, or creating reports by reading Excel spreadsheets and outputting the result into a single spreadsheet. Those are ideas that you likely would face in your daily job and that will lead you to questions and scenarios that you've never been through. After creating your project, even if you haven't finished implementing it, publish on our Discord channel so other students can be motivated by your efforts, and still you would put everything I showed you into practice. Well, my friend, this is just the second module in this course. I have a lot more to show you. Stay with me for the next chapter, and if you can, recommend this to all your colleagues on your job or study groups. I'm sure it can inspire them as well. Don't forget to evaluate this class by clicking on the star below, and if you have any questions, use our comment sections or our Discord channel to discuss with other students. I'm sure they would learn a lot from your questions and would love to chat with you. I'm always available to chat with you on your Discord channel. Use it as much as you can. There, a lot of people are switch jobs because of the opportunities they've been receiving there. I hope this class has exceeded your expectations. I'm Eric Wendell, and I'll see you in the next chapter.